so much bass. My glasses are shaking. Hey guys, Slynk here with another tutorial. 3 weeks ago, I got a SubPac and it's been amazing. I've been using it every day since I got it. If you don't know what a SubPac is, basically it's this thing that you strap to your chair, which physically vibrates deep subfrequencies into your back from between 5 hertz and 130 hertz. That's crazy. 5 hertz. My speakers only go down to maybe 50 hertz at best, and that's with all the acoustic treatment in my room as well. I can't really hear those deep sub frequencies, and it's crazy. It feels crazy. It's almost like it tricks your brain into thinking that you're hearing the sub bass, but instead you're just feeling it, which is kind of how the human body and ear sort of interprets those deep sub frequencies anyways. You feel it more than you hear it. You know, you're at a festival and you can feel the bass like rumbling your chest. You know what I mean? So it's been a really useful tool in the studio, and I've been rethinking the way I do my sub bass. So check this out. This is the sub bass I did with my previous tutorial. I used 2 triangle waves, one an octave higher, and then that goes into a saturator, the warm-up lows preset, and then we're rolling off everything above 120 hertz with the multiband dynamics. And it sounds like this. And one of the big mistakes I made when I made this sub bass is that there's this big harmonic here which is sticking out. It gives the sub bass an overtone, an unnatural overtone, and it wasn't really what I was going for. It can be good in some situations, like maybe trap music or something like that, if you're into those kind of overtone sub basses, but it sounds really bad the lower you go. Like it just sounds, I don't even know what note that is. It sounds a little better up here, which is where I was used to hearing the sub basses before I got the SubPac. Anyway, check out my new sub. This is it here. And you can see it's a nice gradient of harmonics that just sort of flow down like that. And I think it's a more accurate sub bass. It just sounds solid. It sounds like one note, not one note with an overtone on it, you know? So let me show you how I made that. Okay, we're going to start with an EQ8, and we're going to roll off everything above 320 hertz. And that's just, oh, let's set that to this. That's just going to remove any higher frequencies that slip through. Also, we're going to drag in a utility and just turn this DC button on, and that's going to remove any super deep basses that happen to slip in, which will unnecessarily boost the volume of the sub for no reason, and just it'll help you gain more headroom. And then obviously we're going to drag in an operator, set the oscillator A to a sine wave, and before I forget, we're going to flip over to this tab and set the voices to 1, and that'll only let us play one sub note at any given time, and that's important. We never want to play more than one sub bass. So just to remove any chance of error there, we're setting that voices to 1, and also while we're on this tab, we're going to set the routing option to this option here, and this will come into play later, but it'll send the B oscillator into the A oscillator, affecting it in an FM synthesis sort of way, and the C oscillator will be free to exit the plugin separately, and that's important for later. I'll show you. And then over on this tab, we want to turn the glide on and just set this to about 25 or so, and that's just kind of nice because it'll slightly slide between the notes, and it'll kind of help you avoid any clicks that might happen. So this is what it sounds like right now. Just a single sub note. I'll play an octave higher for the headphone users. All right, nothing fancy going on here, but check this out. So in my previous tutorial, I was using a saturator to slightly distort the sound to gain those extra harmonics, but if we click the upgrade button on this operator, you'll notice the filter will flip into the upgraded mode, and we can use the filter to slightly distort the sound. So I've chosen the morphing option there, and we're going to turn the shaper to soft, and check this out. Suddenly we've got a couple extra harmonics, which is really nice. The filter is completely open, it's just shaping it slightly with the inbuilt Ableton shaper. Really, really nice. Next thing we're going to do is turn oscillator B into a sine wave, and we're going to set the coarse tuning to 3, which is going to be 2 octaves higher than the source note. And I'm just going to hold down an E note here and bring that level up until we see that nice gradient that we're looking for. See those harmonics popping up there? We're going to set it about there. And then same kind of deal with oscillator C, except this time we're going to set the coarse to 2, and that's 1 octave higher. And this is just for a couple extra harmonics. And we'll bring the level up, and you'll see it's going to phase out this this harmonic here, but as we bring the level higher, see it phasing out, it's going to pop back up, and then we can just boost it to get closer to that gradient of harmonics that we're after. It's kind of like a balancing act. You know, you just tweak these until you sort of hone in on that. This one's a bit of a problem, but it's not a huge deal. Okay, so multiband dynamics in after the EQ. And we're going to turn off the high frequency split. And what we're going to do is just compress the sound slightly. So with the lower band, 120 hertz and below, we're going to set the ratio to 0.54, which I know works really nice. And we're going to turn this volume down to about -15, which through testing I've found that it sounds really nice. Same deal with this one. We'll just set this the same, about there, and check it out. So with the multiband, without the multiband. It's a little lower in volume, but we can make up for that with the output here. Let's just do that really quick. We just turn this up. I'm just looking at this market here. And about there is perfect. And you can adjust how much of the higher frequency harmonics you want in just by turning this knob here, which is everything above 120 hertz. It'll just boost that volume a little bit. So we can hone in a little bit more on that. That's probably a bit too much. There we go, that's perfect. And there you go, you've got a deep sub bass that just sounds solid across the keyboard. It's actually distorting a little bit in that higher area, so we can just turn the output down. If you're really worried about that, you can just grab a glue and put that on there like that. But really, we just want it to be roughly 0 dB, because when we're doing our mix down, we'll probably have the sub bass like down here. So if it's only peaking by 1 dB, half a dB, it's not a huge deal. I think it's pretty rare for you to play higher notes with your sub bass anyway, unless you're doing some kind of like disco house thing or something. But yeah, that's how I'm doing my basses now, my deep sub basses. I think it sounds really good. And it leaves a lot of tweaking options to you, depending on what sort of bass you want to go for. But this is a really good starting point for a sub bass. So what I'm going to do is just group all this together. I just selected everything and press Ctrl G, and then we can name this solid sub. And straight into the user library, as always, for us to use at another time. And I'll give you a download for this, you guys, because I love you guys. I just want to give SubPac a huge shout out. Thank you so much for sending me one of these. It's changed my life, man. I've changed the way I think about sub basses and just the sub range in general. And I spent a lot of money on acoustic treatment in my room, panels and ISO acoustic stands for my speakers, and the speakers themselves. and I still couldn't hear anything below 50 hertz. And bass in a room is just really hard to treat. All the stuff that I bought here is great for mid-range and high-range stuff. So I'm accurately hearing all the high-end stuff, but I could never really tell what I was doing with the low end. It was kind of like I was just guessing, you know? But now I sort of have the confidence to make good decisions with the low end using the SubPac. So it's been a really useful tool. And I can see it being a really useful tool on the road as well. When you're just in a hotel room, all you've got is headphones. You're working on that track before you head downstairs to play the show. Boom, break out the SubPac. It's fucking battery powered and Bluetooth, so you can even just cruise around the city listening to your music on the bus and just feeling the bass. And I think it's a great way to just experience music in general. So even if you're not a music producer, it's just cool to listen to music with it and also play video games. I've been playing a little bit of Rocket League, and it just, man, it's fun. Like, it's really fun. So thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, and big thanks, SubPac. Peace.